Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did, so let's get started. Number 5 was Jurassic World Rebirth, making $8.7 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $317 million, and its worldwide total to $766 million. Jurassic World Rebirth continues its solid run and continues to hold really well as it pushes its domestic total closer to the domestic total of Dominion. I think it's going to get close, but I just don't think it's going to get to that movie's domestic and certainly worldwide gross. I see the movie slowing down a bit. It just didn't have the hype or the selling point that movie or the other movies had really, and it's going to fall short of the $1 billion that I think many were hoping this would come across this summer. It seemed like that, definitely, but I think just the large amount of competition it had to face off of and some of the lackluster reception it faced caused it to miss those marks. But still though, this is gonna, by the end of the day, this is gonna be a huge success regardless. The fact that this franchise is still going strong, and while it can continue the $1 billion trilogy that the last trilogy did, the fact that this movie is still making as much as it has and is on its way to 800 million worldwide, again, despite all the competition and admittedly some lackluster word of mouth, is really impressive. Again, this is the only franchise where you get big, large-scale dinosaur action quite like this, and it certainly delivered, and people really seem to be satisfied with this movie has to offer, and it's gonna become the big winner out of the big three in July worldwide. Domestically, a certain superhero is gonna surpass that, but more on that later. But yeah, clearly this is the big winner. It's the one that made the most money, which honestly, try telling yourself that like a couple months ago. This would be the two other superhero movies worldwide again. But still, yeah, really solid accomplishment for this movie. Probably the most shocking thing is that we haven't gotten the sequel announcement, or at least a follow-up to this as of yet, which I guess they're just waiting to see how it competed against the other two big movies. But still, come on, what are you waiting for? Still, all in all, a hugely successful performance for Jurassic World Rebirth. It'll exit the top 5, a big winner. Number 4 was Superman, making $13 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $316 million, and its worldwide total to $551 million. Like I said, while Jurassic World will be the big winner worldwide, it's pretty obvious that Superman will be the big winner. Domestically, it's just $1 million shy away. If only had it accomplished this video, it would have been so great. But as is, it'll still be a massive accomplishment, especially considering the state of superhero movies, which we'll discuss much later in the video. The fact that this movie has been able to reach the heights it has is really astounding to see. The movie has just really resonated with a lot of people, and it competed against the stiff competition very well, and even internationally, which albeit hasn't been as strong as it has been domestically. It was looking like it was going to be the biggest enemy for the film's performance, but even on that regard, the movie has really improved, and now it's on its way to 600 million worldwide, which again is really impressive. It's going to be the biggest superhero movie of the year, which hasn't been said for a DC movie since 2008 when The Dark Knight beat the first Iron Man, which again, really impressive, and also shows that we are all very, very old. Regardless, still a huge win for the DC universe, a huge win for Superman, just a very solid performance for the film, and I'm sure it's going to continue to do as well as it has been as we head through the dog days of summer. I definitely think we'll see it leg out even more so throughout the remainder of August. But yes, a really solid performance for Superman and a great start for the new DCU. Number 3 was The Naked Gun, opening with $16 million this weekend domestically and $28 million worldwide. This is the biggest opening for a comedy this year, topping, well, one of them days, that's it. But it is also the second biggest opening in the Naked Gun franchise. It topped Naked Gun 33 1/3 and the original Naked Gun, but still sitting behind Naked Gun 2.5. I'll say this is a pretty good start for this movie. It's not mind-blowing. It's not the next Hangover or Ted or Bridesmaids or anything. But all things considered, I would say this is a solid start for what is a much older franchise in the comedy realm. to see it trump most of the original trilogy is rather impressive. And also in this current landscape, we don't get movies like this anymore. Reminder, one of them days was in January. It's been that long since we had like another one of these movies. We've only had 2 this year, and the next one doesn't come out till October with Good Fortune. So the fact that this movie was able to get to this high at the very, quote unquote high, is pretty impressive. I think the marketing really sold this movie well. Again, all the promos and stuff really caught people's eye, and I think they just made really solid trailers for this movie. The buzz was strong with this. A lot of people wanted to see this franchise come back, and also the star power was a big factor into this movie's performance. Seeing Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson in a movie like this, again, people were curious to see if they were able to do it, and their chemistry was so strong that they're even dating now, which honestly is rather cute. I'm actually very happy for them. And while this is a bit pricier than most comedies we see nowadays, the budget is $42 million. It's already made half of that back, and I'm sure it'll make its initial budget back by the end of this week, because the response to this movie has been great. Critics are loving it. It's in the low 90s on Rotten Tomatoes, which is just excellent for a movie like this, and audiences are enjoying it well too. It got an A- on Cinema Score, which is on par with One of Them Days and even the original Naked Gun, which I think bodes well for this movie's legs. And considering that this is the only movie quite like this out right now, it's certainly a league of its own. I could see it legging out and benefiting from this word of mouth and getting to where it needs to. So yeah, overall, while it's not, again, the next big comedy, baby steps, folks, I still think this is a good enough opening, a good enough start, and the future does look bright for this movie. I think we'll see, at the very least, a solid sleeper hit here, as this opening bodes well for that. Yeah, a pretty good start overall. Number 2 was, funny enough, The Bad Guys 2, opening with $21 million this weekend domestically and $44 million worldwide. Compared to the first film, it's $2 million under it, so that's pretty interesting. Almost on par with it, but, close but no cigar. But as far as everything else, it is, funny enough, the second biggest opening for an animated film this year, topping Elio, King of Kings, and Smurfs, but still sitting behind Dogman. And it's the 6th biggest opening for a family film this year, once again topping Elio, King of Kings, Paddington in Peru, and Smurfs, but still sitting behind Dogman, Snow White, How to Train Your Dragon, Lilo and Stitch, and a Minecraft movie. Certainly an interesting opening we have here for this movie. I wouldn't call it bad. Honestly, I'd say it's a good start. But yeah, the fact that it came in slightly under the original opening is interesting. I think, like I said last weekend, because it came out in August, kids were not as available to go to the movies. They got to get ready to go back to school. Again, I think this probably would have done a bit better in July, maybe even June, but I digress. But yeah, what you want to see with an animated film is for it to really expand and grow. And while this didn't drop off drastically like other animated films, it fell a bit, but still it's about on par with the original. So I guess consistency is key here. It maintained its core audience, so that's pretty interesting. And also, on the more positive side, it's already made half of its budget back worldwide. The budget was $80 million. Plus the fact that it opened better, slightly better, but still better than the other animated films this summer is a good sign. Once again, I think the marketing really sold this movie well. It had a really solid marketing push, and that boosted interest up quite a bit. The first one definitely has its fans, and a lot of them rushed out to go see it this week, and the response to it has also been very positive. Critics are really enjoying it. It's in the high 80s on Rotten Tomatoes, again about on par with the first one, and audiences are also enjoying it as well. A Cinema Score, again on par with the first one, consistent, but also compared to other family films, it sits alongside Dogman, How to Train Your Dragon, Lilo and Stitch, and Elio. And with this being the only animated film out right now, I know there's another kids movie this weekend, but given that that's targeting a much older, more female audience, I think they'll be able to coexist. So really, this is going to be the only real kids movie aimed like at everybody until Gabby's Dollhouse, of all things, at the end of September. So I think it'll be able to leg out and get to where it needs to. It just needs to have that strong word of mouth that the first one did. And considering the response has been about on par with that, I can see that happening. Not saying it's guaranteed. I mean, look what happened with Elio. That seemed like guaranteed. And we all know what happened with that. So we'll see. Again, school is starting for kids. We'll see how it gets affected by that. But I think it's likely, given the reception and, the circumstances, still positive response from people, and only kids movie, animated movie out right now, I think that will greatly benefit it. So yeah, again, good start for The Bad Guys 2. Not great, not stupendous or anything, simply good. And finally, let's end the video off with the number one movie of the weekend, which was once again Fantastic Four: First Steps, making $38 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $197 million and its worldwide total to $367 million. Oh boy. Last weekend, while I said that the movie had a good start, I mean, again, fourth biggest opening of the year is still fourth biggest opening of the year. I was worried about this movie's legs because the response towards the film wasn't as positive as it seemed. On paper, it seemed like, oh, people are enjoying it, critics are liking it, audiences are liking it about the same with Superman and Thunderbolts. But from what I saw, it seemed that the reception was a lot more lackluster, a bit more mixed. So I was worried that the film would take a hit this weekend considering that. And boy, did it take a hit this weekend, folks. This movie plummeted. It fell 67%. That is really surprising. I knew it was going to fall, but not this much. It's clear that this movie is just not winning people over. Those who saw it are not encouraging others to go and see it, and those who might have been interested have probably been swayed away by the reception or what they've been hearing about the movie, unfortunately. And this is without a doubt going to be one of the biggest disappointments of the summer for sure. Yeah, it's going to make more money than most of the movies this summer, but again, folks, this was supposed to be the big Marvel movie, not just of the summer, but the year. There's not going to be another Marvel movie until Spider-Man next year. This was it. It wouldn't have mattered if Brave New World or Thunderbolt underperformed. As long as this did well, it would have been fine. But even this one is underperforming, which is not good, because now you got to question, what do the people really want? What's going on here? Because again, the movie was well received. It wasn't loved or anything, but it seemed like a lot of people really liked the movie, but clearly that's not the case. So there's just going to be a lot of questions to go on with this movie. Again, I just think the fact that the movie's just not really as good as they were hoping it would be for audiences. Audiences are just not gelling with this like they did with Superman. That movie really resonated with people. It gave them a lot what they wanted for that movie, while this just isn't satisfying people, unfortunately. And I know the dog days of the summer are upon us, so it'll probably bounce back and leg out better, but I think with this weekend the damage is done. This is looking like it's still going to be a really big disappointment altogether. I still think it's going to make more money than most. It'll probably bounce back after this, but my goodness, this is a huge bump in the road for this movie. We'll see how much it can recover after this, but my goodness, this is a heavy blow to this movie for sure. So yeah, not a great second weekend for Fantastic Four. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we got 2 new wide releases, starting with Weapons, the newest horror film from Zach Krieger, about how at 2:17 in the morning, an entire classroom of children just got up, ran into the nothingness, and never came back, and the whole town is wondering what the reason and the motivation behind it was. Perfect for back to school season. But in all seriousness, though, I think this is going to be another summer surprise. The horror genre has been really kicking into high gear this summer. It slowed down with Megan and I Know What You Did Last Summer, yes, but this one, I think because the viral marketing campaign, which has been excellent, they've been doing great with that, and the strong buzz I've been seeing for the film, people have been very curious and been talking about this movie for sure, and reviews have been excellent. The embargo lifted a week ago, and Last I checked, it was still sitting at 100%. Obviously, it could have gone down by the time you're watching this, but still, reviews are very strong right now. Yeah, I definitely think this is going to be the big horror surprise. Well, compared to like the big franchises, the big late horror surprise of the summer, and seeing how there isn't another horror movie until I believe The Conjuring in early September, this movie's going to stand out, and I think it'll be able to make a name for itself this weekend and throughout the rest of the month of August. Yeah, I have a lot of expectations for this. I don't think it's going to be another Sinners or Final Destination, but it wouldn't surprise me if this does some really solid numbers this weekend. And then there's Freakier Friday, the sequel to the beloved Disney film 20 years ago. This time Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis's characters will be switching bodies once again, not just with themselves, but with their daughter and granddaughters respectively. I think this one is also going to be quite the surprise. The original certainly has its fan base for good reason. The film was just really cute and fun, and the two leads had a lot of charm and great chemistry and played off of each other very well. And this movie looks to be, raising the stakes, if you could say, by adding more to the switcheroo insanity, I guess you would call it. The marketing has been very solid. Been seeing lots of promos and stuff for this movie, really leaning on the star power of Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. And being one of the few films this summer aimed at a female audience, I think that's going to make it stand out from the rest of the crowd. We see this time and time again where like that one movie aimed at a female crowd really breaks out, and this looks to do just that. I mean, we saw it last summer with It Ends With Us, and this looks to do very similar. The buzz is very strong. Lots of people excited about this movie. I'm curious to see, again, how school starting will affect it. Again, I know it's aimed at definitely an older audience, but it is still a kids movie, so it'll be interesting to see how school starting up in August affects the film's performance in the weeks to come. But again, given that it's older audience more likely interested than the younger crowd, I think we will still see a pretty interesting opening here. Yeah, I have high expectations for this. I think it's gonna really surprise people and do really solid this weekend. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Following all those social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.